Mount Whitney to summit. I'm going to tell you a little bit about kind of what happened, the events that led up to the three climbers from Omaha getting lost. And then after that, I'll give you a chance for a few questions. The first thing is there's 10 total people. They were followed by 2 support drivers. The 2 support drivers were Joe Palladino, my father, and Jim Phillips, Steve Phillips' father. The 10 climbers were myself, Dave Palladino from Omaha, Nebraska, Kevin Palladino from Austin, Texas, Jason Palladino from Phoenix, Arizona, and Luke Palladino from Omaha, Nebraska. And then also from Omaha was Steve Phillips from Omaha, Nebraska, we talked about. James Conley from Omaha, Nebraska. Darren Armstrong from Omaha, Nebraska. And Jamie Landau from Madison, Wisconsin. All 10 of these guys were good friends of mine. 5 of us summited the mountain. Preceding the summit of the mountain, this was kind of a group of us, kind of a social group called the Landmark Group Endurance Team. We had ridden from Death Valley to the base of Mount Whitney. Death Valley is 282 people at sea level. It took us 2 days to ride approximately 132 miles. Only 3 of us rode the entire distance. My brother Kevin, myself, and James Conley all rode the entire way. The other guys either rode a lot of it or very little of it. Phil did not bring his bike and rode a very small section of the ride. Some of them rode during distances. I'll tell you about that kind of significant thing in a while. None of the 3 climbers that were lost rode the entire way from Death Valley to Mount Whitney. All of us had significant experience climbing. Each one of us has summited a 14er. Several of us have summited Mount Rainier. Mount Rainier is a glaciated 14er, considered to be the most difficult in the lower 48 states. Every one of the climbers has had a significant amount of experience. We have been training for this event for months, if not years. We had been wanting to do this. Steve and I were kind of the organizers. Steve's more of the cross climbers. We wanted to organize this climb for 2 years. We'd actually scheduled 2 years ago and it got delayed. Steve has 20 years of military background, and Dale and Phil have extensive camping and climbing experience, and we'll be considered in a good condition. They were all very determined to get to the top of the mountain. Phil chose not to ride to make sure that he was in good enough shape to summit. All 3 of them had been training extensively with backpacks and climbing, what we call those climbing in Omaha to do that. The details about the trip. We got to Lone Pine on Sunday night, relatively early, 4 o'clock, around 4 o'clock, and then we rode up we took the car up there and our bikes, and then we rode down just to kind of see what the corridor looked like. We then, put the bed out very early Sunday night, and Monday we got up around 2 a.m. and left the hotel around 4 a.m. to go up to Summit Mountain. So we all left Monday morning around 4:30, and they were broken down into 3 basic groups. The groups that summited were myself summited, James Conley, Kevin Palladino, Jamie Landau, and Darren Armstrong. Those were the first group that summited the mountain. The second group is a group that was lost. They all left at the same time. The lost climbers are Steve Phillips, Philip Abraham, and Dale Clemens. Very early on, the second group, the third group was a group that only climbed 2 hours. They had no intention of actually summiting the mountain, climbed to where they thought they could handle it, and they were high altitude, and they turned around. It was Jason Palladino and Luke Palladino. They all climbed for 5 hours, turned around, and descended for 2 hours and came back down. The 5 successful climbers were, the 3 middle climbers were Dale Clemens, who works here, Philip Abraham, who works here at Depot. The 5 successful climbers completed the ascent after about 8.5 hours of climbing. At about, let's say, 10,000 feet, it started snowing. It was not that cold for experienced climbers. We all had lots of gear on and were very ready for the climb. At about 12,000 feet, it started snowing very heavily with very low visibility, maybe less than 40 feet of visibility. The successful climbers were successful around 2:30, approximately. Took us 8.5 hours to get to the top of the mountain. We then took a significant amount of pictures and got into the shelter. There's a shelter up there. Very small room. We all got in the shelter, decided we would put a crampon on. Crampons are basically spikes around your feet, in conditions for you to do that. And we put basically all the clothes we had on, although it wasn't overly cold. It was maybe only 20 degrees, which is, you can find a lot of mountains that's not cold. That's actually relatively warm. You don't really need a lot of protection in that kind of temperature. So, approximately 2:30 we started heading down. About 20 minutes later, we saw 2 other climbers that we thought were Dale. It was not. We couldn't find out when we got closer to the bottom. Those 2 climbers come to find out are lost too. Or there's reports that they're lost. There's a lot of sketchy information about them because they didn't have nearly the support that we did. But there's 2 other lost climbers out there that are accounted for. I don't know their names, so we don't know where they're from. About an hour to an hour and a half from when we summited the mountain, we came down and we ran across what we found was now lost. We still find Abraham. We shared just briefly, not very long, less than a couple minutes about the experience. We all commented about how difficult it was. It was a very difficult climb. One of the last things that Steve said is, I'll see at the bottom when we go to dinner. None of us had any idea how long it would take to get to the bottom. Normally, I kind of calculate that it takes about half the time to get down the mountain to get up. We'll talk about that in a second, but it didn't turn out that way. The guys were, well fed, well hydrated. They had plenty of clothes on to make the final summit. There was no conversation about turning around. That was not mentioned by anybody. Now the 5 climbers that were successful were 3 unsuccessful climbers. Will specifically was determined to get to the top of the mountain. That's in this sport is kind of a pinnacle. If you're unsuccessful climbing the mountain, there's kind of an asterisk behind it, behind your name. Nobody wanted that. They all wanted to be successful, all determined to get to the top. Then we started descending, and then on the descent, it was snowing a significant amount. It was, I think well over a foot, maybe possibly 2 feet of fresh snow, making the descent very slow. It normally should take 4 hours to get down until it's 8. It's a very long climb, 11 miles in each direction, 22 miles round trip. We've done lots of endurance things. It's by far the hardest thing we've ever done. So we summited about, we came down the mountain between 9:30 and 10. Steve Dad was waiting for us. At that point, we had no idea that 3 other climbers were lost. We knew it would take at least 3 hours, probably 4, for them to get down. So Jim took us back to the hotel, and we went to bed. So it wasn't until we woke up in the morning that we first started getting text messages. Bill was able to text several people, somewhere between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m., that they couldn't find the trail, there was a significant amount of snow, and they decided to go to the shelter and spend the night. So sometime over the ensuing next 3 to 4 hours, we exchanged text messages. There is a STAR site, search and rescue site, as part of the shelter. You go to davehalladino.com and look at a picture of the shelter and see what the shelter looks like. There is a STAR site, search and rescue site, that is loaded with water and food and blankets and sleeping bags and the equivalent of MREs. We called the park ranger and got the code to the lock. The lock is meant to be broken off in extreme situations. We got the code of the lock to them. We are okay. That's the last communication we had with them. Sometime mid-morning on Tuesday. large, but only a small portion you could get into. These guys are experienced. They knew they would have figured out that that they need to get into this. The lock is not that hard to get into, even if they did not get the combination. And we prayed obviously that they got into that and are waiting for rescue. The rescue efforts are such as this. We notified when 6 a.m. approximately, about the time that we thought the patient was down. We got the text messages. We notified the U.S. Park Service of the situation. They've done a great job of sending the team to go after them. The first thing for a situation such as that is to wait until these guys can get down to the tower. So on Tuesday, that was the plan. To see if these guys can get down to the mountain. Quickly, it became obvious that was not going to happen because of the amount of snow. The three climbers did not have snowshoes, and anything over really 2.5 years snow, you need snowshoes to get down, and so they can't walk down that. So Wednesday morning, two climbers set out from Crabtree. There's a ranger station out there that's 5.5 miles from the summit, not the 11 miles where we took off from. We left in the Mt Whitney portal. The rangers left about 5.5 miles from the Crabtree portal, and they were helicoptered over the Crabtree portal in North Carolina yesterday. They were unsuccessful in their attempt because the depth of snow, when it's snowing like that, it takes an enormous amount of time to climb through it. They couldn't make it, so they had to come around. So this morning, the Park Service brought in bigger and more experienced teams, and they're both going to try to summit from the Crabtree station, which is about 5.5 miles from the summit. They also are a chicken helicopter. They have a little more capacity to use the summit in the helicopter they have access to. The cloud cover at this point does not allow for helicopter rescue. It's very, very low visibility, and so we're relying on rescue climbers who are, there's 45 people that are attempting to rescue climb. It will take, the way it works is several people break the trail and then get up a certain way, and the second team will take over and then lead their way. It will take an enormous amount of effort to go through that amount of snow. Steve and Dale and Phil obviously knew this. They had the foresight to know that it would be difficult to get down and did exactly what they should have done, which is stay tight to where they're at. We're expecting within the next 3 or 4 hours that the first search and rescue team leaves the summit. During the time, we'll look close to see if there's anything that indicated that they came down. There's no indication that they left, since we last talked to them, that they left the shelter. One blessing that we've seen is that it continues to snow significantly since then. They would not have left in that environment. It's not like should we go or should we not go. I mean, when it snows 3 inches, when it snows 3 feet, it drifts 10. So it's a significant effort on everybody. Steve's dad is still living in Lone Pine and is in direct communication with the